Here we go. Welcome, Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. With fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Yeah, fantasy football talk hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down. Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to the recording studio, we're getting loud. Getting ready, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host. I'm Pickle, and with me as always, Blackburn.
Yes, sir, that's me.
And not to be forgotten this week, Trimboli.
Yes. Bada bing, bada boom.
See? There we go.
There it is. Smooth transition, guys, today.
Proper introductions.
Already off to a better start than last week. So
We got all our names in there. It's perfect.
Well, we were excited last week. It was draft week.
It was. It's not draft week
It's
this
a normal
week.
week this week.
It is,
That
unfortunately.
day after Christmas thing.
But you're like, oh, cool, I got all these toys. Now I got to wait 365 days more.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it should be 364 because it's the day after Christmas.
Actually, it's the week after.
We've been over this. Math, not my strong suit.
Neither am mine. All right. Anyways, today's episode, we're going to be doing some talking of rookie relevance in fantasy football perspective, more so in the redraft. Obviously, dynasty rookies are going to be more higher value than some of the players that are currently veterans, obviously. But for redraft purposes, not every rookie is a relevant rookie year one. So those are the guys that we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about guys that are going to have straight line shots to being relevant this year, guys that it's going to maybe kind of take a couple maybe injuries or lack of play from the guy that's ahead of them, and guys that are going to be like, hey, sorry, maybe next year. So you can follow us on all of our different social media accounts, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are on YouTube as well as anywhere that you listen to podcasts, and we are on DATV for the local Dayton fans. I hate to say fans. Dayton viewers, I guess if you want to call it that.
Awesome.
It's on 10:30 p.m. Friday night and then 4 p.m. on Sundays, so you can check us out all off season, and then once the season ramps up, we'll be on Sundays and Saturdays, things of that nature. So get you guys as much fantasy football knowledge as possible.
Heck yeah.
So, all right, let's go ahead and get into the first segment today, fantasy news and notes.
Fantasy news and notes.
Fantasy news and notes presented by Sleeper. If you're wanting to stay up to date on all things fantasy football related, as well as moving your platform of the current league that you're in onto a better platform that's also free, Sleeper is where it's at. You can get it on iOS, you can get it on Google Play, as well as you can obviously play onto the laptop PCs, things like that. So
If you haven't done it yet, you're behind the eight ball.
Right. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I would say that's where we keep obviously our fantasy news relevance as to where we get any and all notifications, as well as you can play your regular leagues. They've got redraft, keeper, dynasty. They have fully customizing of any type of leagues way you want to do it. And the best thing is mock drafting. That's the best thing.
Yeah, because you could pause it.
Yep.
I mean, it's awesome.
Right. I think that's our biggest point.
And our listener league is through Sleeper, so.
Right. So and we enjoy it, and it makes it nice because you can do a slow draft, and that way you've got guys in different time zones, different countries sometimes. That way they can kind of pick up, and they've got 8 hours to essentially get their pick in. Obviously, people can pick quicker than that, but it gives you like an 8-hour window. And if somebody messes up, the nice thing is you can pause it. Somebody can message, say, hey, I picked the wrong guy. You can pause it. You can reverse it essentially and go back and say, which guy did you want? Oh, I wanted this guy. I hit
Or you just send back, sorry.
Sorry, moving on. Anyways, so the fantasy news, there was, surprisingly enough, there's actually a lot for post-NFL draft that's not draft-related so much. But the one that we do have for sure that's draft-related, Cardinals did trade Josh Rosen after all for a 2020 fifth-round pick to the Miami Dolphins. The Cardinals ended up receiving the 62nd overall pick in the draft this year and ended up drafting Andy Isabella out of.
So a second and a fifth is what they got. A second this year and a fifth
Right.
next year.
Correct. So I like it. It made it worthwhile.
For the Cardinals, I love it. I just don't know if Rosen really landed in a better situation.
I feel like
I think for Kenyon Drake, it went up a little bit. But
Oh, yeah.
I think the overall offense, it helps, obviously. I don't know how much difference you're looking at between Fitzpatrick and Rosen, because I think Rosen.
about 30 years.
There you go, math. From a football standpoint, talent-wise, I don't know, because Fitzpatrick is very much a gunslinger, and he's like a Brett Favre. He thinks he can make every throw no matter what, whether you're like, there is no way that you're making this throw, but he's going to heave it. Josh Rosen is also going to have that mindset, I can make every throw. The difference is age, and I just think that talent-wise, they're probably about the same. One's a rookie, a young guy, one's an older guy.
I'm not gonna compare the two because I don't think we really got to see what Josh Rosen can do.
Right.
Arizona had a trash offensive line.
Right.
I mean, it was just horrible last year, and he got thrown in there when Sam Bradford couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for Miami is the fact that their offensive line's not much better than Arizona. So that's my other concern for Rosen. I'm hoping he gets an honest chance, but I just feel bad for him because I have a feeling that next year he's going to be replaced again for a guy named Tua.
Well, that could happen.
Which is what they're hoping for, I think.
Well, that
That
could
would be
happen.
funny.
But also, he's kind of going in with a clean slate, though.
Right.
He doesn't have to prove anything right
No,
now.
and
Right.
they traded for him. They wanted him.
Right.
So,
I just thought it was an interesting move from Miami because I thought it was tank for Tua, too.
well, I mean,
They didn't give up. I guess the thing is, I think we go back to is they didn't give up a whole lot to
No.
get Josh Rosen.
I mean, because if he pans out to be a franchise quarterback,
Right.
you got him for the next 4 years on minimum deal.
Right.
I'm
So they-
surprised more teams that needed a quarterback didn't make a push like this.
Well, with Haskins sliding the way he did, well, we'll get into that. But
Well, actually, to be honest with you, I was surprised it didn't end up in New England.
Who?
Rosen.
yeah, I thought so
That's
too.
how I thought it was going to go.
I did too.
I was like, well, since Washington drafted a quarterback, the Giants took a quarterback at 6.
Daniel Jones.
Right.
Yeah.
Denver took a quarterback. I was just like, all right, who's the only other team that really has been talked about potentially getting Rosen? And I was like,
Dolphins and Broncos ended up getting
right.
Drew Lock in.
Yep.
And Dolphins and the Patriots were the last two teams that really had talked about. Chargers had, but they ended up taking a quarterback as well, I think.
Yeah,
So-
well, they were one of the teams that offered the Cardinals a second-round pick.
Right, and they passed on that, so we'll see. But all right, so next one, Jamal Charles officially retires from the NFL. Pretty cool moment. I got to see the Kansas City Chiefs put it out on
Yeah,
their social media.
Signed
thing.
a one-day contract and retired.
Well, they did like a little handoff with
Right.
Patrick Mahomes and him on the field. Kind of a cool thing, which that would have been in the heyday when Jamal Charles was legit. That would have been awesome to
It'd
see
have
that.
been funny
offense.
if Jamal Charles would have got hurt because that's what would normally
Is it
would
bad
happen.
that that's exactly where my mindset is?
Wow.
Like, oh my gosh, hopefully he can make it run. He can run through the hole here and not like
No, he would just
pull
fall
a
into a
hamstring or
hole
something.
and
Yeah.
like lose 10 yards
Jeez.
and his ACL.
In his prime, let's be honest, in his prime, he was very fantasy relevant.
Yes.
and
Very
like,
much so.
one of those
Yes.
top 5 running backs that everybody wanted to get. Unfortunately, his body broke down very quickly, and it was like, oh gosh, okay, now it just never. Once he got hurt that first couple times, you're just like, yeah, he just never was the same athletically. So
Right, it was like the Sammy Watkins of running backs.
this is true. Good
It's
point.
like it's the Kansas City curse.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, they just put too much. I think they put too much workload on that guy.
they did.
I just mean in general with the team with the way it's going.
It is.
Charles is hurt. I mean, Hunt's gone. I mean,
Tyreek Hill's probably going to be gone.
Yeah.
And then Watkins can't stay healthy either.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes can throw to anybody.
Travis Kelce.
Right.
Oh, is he next?
That I hope
Mahomes
not.
might have that curse though.
Well, it did not
Madden
last very
curse.
long.
The Madden cover came out with him on it, and within like 12 hours, the Tyreek Hill news came out.
It was like
Told you.
it was seriously. It was like the Titanic was starting all over again. It was like, oh, here's he's on the cover like you said of Madden, and it didn't take more than 12 hours, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, just so you know, Tyreek Hill stuff's resurfacing. Good
We
luck.
reopened the case against Tyreek Hill.
You're
and
like,
just-
well, that's great. So, so some injuries. Isaiah Crowe out for the season after tearing his Achilles on Monday.
bye.
Yep.
Still terrible though.
I feel bad
I
for
hate
the
to
guy.
hear
He was
guys
on
leave
he
on
was on a
injury.
1-year deal, like a prove-it deal. Well, he proved he's probably going to have to try for another 1-year deal. And the thing is, he's not.
Nah, he done.
Yeah, he done.
I was gonna say the problem is he's going to be coming off a major injury. Achilles, ACLs, MCLs, those things seem to be okay in general for the long term. It's the Achilles when those tear or burst or whatever. It's just a bad day for the player, and I just don't feel like they ever get back to
No.
anywhere
I mean,
close
look
to
at
what they
Richard
were.
Sherman.
Right.
Yeah.
I just feel like they baby it, and it's not like a hamstring or whatever where you feel like you can kind of like.
And this is a running back.
Right.
Yeah. And he's a volume guy. He needs a lot of touches.
Right. That's the
So-
biggest concern for him. So I'd say he may be on the outside looking at next year as somebody camp-wise, potentially. I don't think anybody's going to pick him up between now and then, obviously.
Well, they brought back Muscle Hamster.
They did. I was going to say. Doug Martin re-signs with the Raiders.
Yes.
Great.
Secret of the Ooze.
Right.
Ninja Turtle reject.
There you go. That's the number 2 one, just so you know. See, because it's the second
Yep.
time coming in.
I like it.
I picked up what you're putting down. Sebastian Janikowski announces his retirement. No, you didn't get that?
I didn't get it.
You didn't get it?
The second show.
It's the second movie of the Ninja Turtles.
Secret
It's
of
the
the
second.
Ooze.
we
he's
we
coming
got
back.
something that you didn't get.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were throwing out
No.
there.
But now that we know that, we can mention it a third time, and that's Turtles in Time.
There you go.
Next.
Yeah.
Turtles in Time. Wow.
Yeah, time when Doug Martin was good.
Right. So Doug Baldwin, we'll get to the last point, but Doug Baldwin resolution expected to come within weeks. Now, it came out in the draft time frame right before the opening night that he is potentially going to retire due to like compounded amounts of injuries that he's dealt with over his career, specifically the last year.
Yeah.
I think the writing's on the wall, and the fact that they said that they're going to let him make the announcement and he's going to be the one that does all this, that to me tells me that they're just buying their time until he officially says I'm done, and it just sounds like that's where we're trending.
I mean, that's a lot of rehab to go through again.
At the 30-year-old club.
Yeah.
Right. And
So-
Tyler Lockett was on the rise. He had a breakout year last year.
Right.
And they drafted DK Metcalf.
Who they loved. I mean, to
Yeah.
the point where that Pete Carroll apparently decided at the combine to take off his shirt as
did.
well
During the
and be
meetings.
like, hey, look, I can be looking good as you, which we're like, okay.
Which was not the
Pete,
case.
put your shirt back on. If
Right.
I was the owner, I wish there was like a soundbite where the owner was like, all right, Pete, we're going to need you to go ahead and put your shirt back on.
It looked
you're scaring
like
the kids.
somebody dumped a bunch of canned chicken on the table. That's what it looked like. It was weird.
I don't know, but for some reason, when a guy does something like that, I'm like, let's play for that guy. He's
Right.
just crazy enough.
I mean,
Right.
he is crazy enough, but
He is. He's always been that way. Even at USC, that's just his. He's just a different breed of coach. So
Man,
he's just
I can't
hyper
get that
'cause
image
he's-
out of my
No.
head.
well, I
now.
know, but he's so hyper because all that sugar from he eats like 6 packs of Big League Chew a day.
right. I mean, he's just always chomping on gum in the games. He was like, you must have some really like strong teeth and gum lines, like because otherwise you're getting like serious like TMJ. Just saying.
Hey, his jawline's on point, man.
It is. All right, so then the last point that we're going to make in the news is Tyreek Hill likely headed to the exempt list. Obviously, as we talked about post last week's show, it came out that there was some audio bites that kind of painted him in an even worse picture than he was already.
It's not good.
Some of the phrases that he used, some of the things that he said, we won't obviously quote them, but essentially the long and the short is he essentially made a comment about his child being fearful of him and to comparison to be respecting him, to which then he followed up telling his fiance/girlfriend that you should be also afraid of me. Probably not looking good when you're involved in you just got, I don't want to say off the hook, but essentially they just closed initially an investigation referring you to potentially breaking your child's arm. Then the threats come out audio, and so
Well, all I know is I will be adjusting my rankings now.
accordingly. So
You mean removing him permanently?
Yeah, probably.
yeah,
'Cause
so
this is gonna be bad.
yeah, unfortunately, I mean, as we talked about for the kid, that's a bad situation. But what we're talking about, and specifically to fantasy purposes, there's a good chance he's not playing this year, and there's a good chance he may not play again because this would be a secondary issue because of the initial issue when he came into the league dealing with punching said girl in the stomach with yet the same kid. So now he's dealing with potentially breaking the kid's arm. I just feel like this situation, if any, could potentially put him into the box of like the Ray Rice situation where he is done and like basically put out like, sorry, we can't have you in this league anymore. It's just not. We can't do it. Sorry, you're talented, but this is one of those moments that
I don't see how he's not.
I'm surprised. I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised that unless Goodell is really trying to make sure he does everything on his end to make sure nothing's
They
wrong.
want to make sure all their ducks are in a row before
Right.
they do anything.
That's the
But
only thing
I
I
can see.
Right.
It's gonna happen.
It's coming, and so unfortunately, for fantasy purposes, if you have Tyreek Hill or if you've made the move in a keeper or dynasty league,
Or if you have Patrick Mahomes, that's a big hit.
right?
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to probably.
That narrows that gap with Andrew Luck, in my opinion.
I was going to say with Tyreek Hill being done potentially, if he is done for the year, I think that brings Patrick Mahomes back down to where the gap between him and Andrew Luck in our rankings get a little bit closer and potentially put Andrew Luck ahead of him. Just because I think Andrew Luck has got enough weapons in this offense now that where subtracting Tyreek Hill out of this offense
Takes away a huge dynamic.
Right.
and adding some of these the rookies that they drafted with Paris Campbell, I just think that Marlon Mack's there. They brought in Spencer Ware. I just think that's a lot of offensive weapons that he's now essentially kind of escalated and made that offense in Indianapolis better than I want to say what the offense looks like right now currently in Kansas City.
Oh, it does for sure.
So it just comes down to Patrick Mahomes. How much do you put weighted scoring wise into Patrick Mahomes' ability to make something out of nothing without Tyreek
Right.
Hill?
What's your guys' opinion on Damian Williams? I have him going up now.
Yeah, he's up.
Yeah, I would say with the fact that they did not bring in a big-time running back out of this group in the first round or so, I just feel like this is
Carlos Hyde gets the shelf again.
right.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the backup guy and the spell back for Damian Williams, but I just think that Damian Williams secured himself as one of those potentially top 15 running
Well,
backs.
not just running the ball either. I mean, he's a great pass catcher.
Well, that's
So
what I mean.
With Tyreek Hill going out, that's another weapon that they can use.
Right.
And we could even probably see Hyde and Damian Williams in the backfield together.
True.
I couldn't agree anymore.
So it'll be interesting to see. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into the main segment today, some rookie relevance.
Hey, rookie, welcome to the NFL.
All right, rookie relevance presented by Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack has over 1,000 different unique fantasy football combination trophies. They have fantasy rings, belts. You can head over to trophysmack.com. You can select that, and if you get the draft loadout, you will get a 50% off promo code emailed to you, as well as be entered into a drawing for a free championship ring. Can't beat that.
No, not at all.
So I also saw right now that they're running a separate promo. If you do buy a fantasy trophy, that you can be entered into a drawing for a signed Saquon Barkley jersey. I'm just saying.
Get on that.
Just saying. So if you get your ring from
Nobody
the draft
likes
loadout,
the Giants, dude.
well, for fantasy purposes, he is going to be the running back one.
I'm going to get a Giants jersey just for you,
I
too.
don't know. Did you see that picture of Christian McCaffrey's arms?
You mean
Dude, he's jacked.
Juggernaut?
What-
Jeez.
What is going on?
Yeah, that's what they compared him to. Dude, that's jacked.
He looks like who was the running
He's
back
gonna pop the football when he carries it.
or his biceps, either or. Who's the running back we talked about last year that got popped for PEDs, and the running back that looked huge, looked like giant tires on his arms in the combine a couple years ago? He played for the Colts. I just drew a blank. He got suspended for the first couple games.
Oh,
I am drawing blank, too. I keep thinking of the wide receiver out of Ohio State.
No.
Who?
Boston?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, David Boston, yeah.
Anyways.
Old Arizona Cardinal.
Anyways, so Christian McCaffrey's biceps. If you ever even looked at it yet, that guy has definitely been eating well and working out a lot.
I thought it was photoshopped at first.
I did as well, but then the more you look at it, I mean, you see him in different. No,
yeah.
you're like, holy cow, this guy's just gotten bigger. So for all those naysayers that initially, when he came out of the draft, saying he can't carry the workload, he can't be a full-time running back.
Yeah, but can he get those hands over his head now with those arms?
He proved last year he could carry the load.
Yeah, this is true.
Well, no, I meant now
Well,
he's
I know,
even
now
bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't doubt him. Those arms are
I'm
too
just
big.
kidding. He's going to be a top guy.
So, alrighty. Let's go ahead and get to the rookie relevance. So, some of the guys, I just wanted to point out for fantasy purposes, I looked and did some quick stats. So, over the past 6 seasons, total of 27 rookies offered up starter caliber numbers in half PPR.
Bam.
They finished as top, which means they finished as top 12 quarterbacks and tight ends, or top 24 running backs and wide receivers. One quarterback has done that in the last 6 years. Dak Prescott.
Of course, you put Dak Prescott in here.
Just saying, I
But
did some numbers.
You know what I see out all this is draft capital. Where they draft a guy, he's going to play.
Right. So, over the running backs, there were 16. Saquon, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, Eddie Lacy, David Johnson, Leonard Fournette, Todd Gurley, Jordan Howard, Jeremy Hill, name it from the past, Christian McCaffrey, Phillip Lindsay, Le'Veon Bell, Gio Bernard, Nick Chubb, and Zach Stacy. So, 9 wide receivers, 1 tight end in the last 6 years, Evan Ingram. Obviously, that's outside the Gronk bubble of when he came in as a rookie, but those were the only 2 tight ends over the last, 10 years that have been rookie relevant. So tight ends are the ones that the group, and quarterbacks tend to be the ones that aren't as fantasy relevant.
I mean, they got to be a specific fit. But like these running backs, like Eddie Lacy, the rookie year, he's
Right.
probably the most that's visited Gold Corral too.
This is also true.
That guy's huge.
He celebrated his great rookie year with going to Golden Corral for the next.
That's
3
all he
years.
had was that 1 year.
For the next 3 years. So, all right. So for quarterbacks, this year's class, you've got Kyler Murray that we're going to discuss, Dwayne Haskins, Daniel Jones, and Drew Lock. So we'll just start with Kyler Murray. What do you guys expect for Kyler Murray this fantasy year, I guess?
I think he's the #1 rookie quarterback.
Nope.
Numbers.
No?
I'll tell you why.
Oh.
He's got the best offense, I think. If you're going to do with Haskins as your guy, I'll take Arizona's offense any day.
Okay.
And it's the style and system that was in college with. I just think and he's going to run the ball more. It's all set up for him. Where Haskins is coming into an offense that his own coach didn't even really want him. Didn't know if he fits his system yet. So for me, that's why I'm taking Haskins. Or I'm taking Murray, sorry.
I'm taking Haskins not because I'm a homer, But because Arizona had
Yeah,
the worst
comma.
offensive line last year, so yes, they need a quarterback that can run because that's what he's going to be doing.
Correct.
But he didn't do that at Ohio State.
No, he's talking about.
I'm talking about Kyler Murray.
Oh, okay. I thought
Reference
he was
to
about
Murray
Haskins.
and
No,
his
Murray
offense.
went to the Cardinals,
Yes.
and that's great because he's going to have to run.
Right.
That offense is trash.
That's
yes,
fancy points.
I get it, but he's going to get
Sorry.
hurt is what I'm saying. He's going to
Okay.
be RG3.
Okay.
You watch.
He has, I guess, I think you're trying to say is he has more of a chance to be injured in the offense that he currently is because of the offense they're going to
Gotcha.
run.
Dwayne
and the lack
Haskins
of
is a bigger
offensive line play.
quarterback.
Because they didn't address the offensive line in the
Not
draft.
at all.
Right.
That's
They
bad.
did bring in some receiver help.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Detroit Lion did. They just drafted every wide receiver they could.
Yeah, I still don't know if they're playing for this year right now. I just think they're trying to build the offensive round.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Kyler's
Fantasy relevance for this season.
Specifically, I think Kyler Murray is. I like Kyler Murray.
I do too.
I do like Dwayne Haskins. I just think that I honestly, at the moment, they're still even for me because I want to see how rookie camp kind of goes and how the offseason goes because Kyler Murray is on the better offense, I think, overall for potential scoring. But Dwayne Haskins has the better offensive line, which suits his offensive style and the fact that he's going to be able to sit back in the pocket and throw. Because as long as they are offensively across the board, line-wise, healthy, the Redskins have a very good offensive line. It's
They
just
were number 6 last year.
the question mark
get
with
that.
the Redskins offense is the offensive receiving options. That's the question for me
True.
when I have Dwayne Haskins, and that's the only thing that can hold, in my opinion, Haskins back because the offensive line is going to be fine. I just don't know with the current offensive weapons with Doxson, with Jordan Reed, with
Paul Richardson.
bringing in
McLaurin.
McLaurin now, the running backs.
Well, see, if that was an established quarterback, I totally get what you're saying here. We're talking a rookie here. He's going to have ups and downs. He's going to throw a lot of interceptions. He's
Well, so
probably
is
not
Kyler
gonna,
Murray.
Well, I know he's not. But you know what Kyler Murray's going to give you is rushing touchdowns and rushing yards.
Okay,
That's
but-
going to counteract. It's the same. Remember
I
when
get
on
it.
Watkins I wasn't high on.
I know.
Because he turned the ball over too much. But as long as he had those rushing touchdowns and
I
yards,
get it.
big.
But-
Cam Newton thing, same idea.
I don't know. I just think there's more offensive talent. Because name players besides David Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald in Arizona.
I don't even know if Fitzgerald's going to be a highlighted piece here.
I would say the only thing that I have is the fact that they got Christian Kirk and they drafted a bunch of new wide receivers.
Yeah.
That bodes well for Kyler Murray. So for me, and when you put the two quarterbacks side by side, at this very moment, I think Kyler Murray is streamable week by week. I think Dwayne Haskins at this very moment, without seeing how the offense evolves with him, because that's the biggest question mark, is the receiving options.
Right.
I think he is matchup-based games at the moment. Now, I'm not saying that he can't be streamable. I think he could be streamable once we see how this offense clicks receiving-wise. If he does what he does at Ohio State and gets everybody involved, then yes, I think he becomes streamable immediately. And Kyler Murray, I think it depends on how they really want to run this offense. If they really run it 5 wide, gunsling it, then yes, I think he could be okay, but because they've got all the offensive. But I think that they're going to incorporate David Johnson as much as they can in this offense, which
they
to
did
me
that
takes
last
Kyler
year,
Murray's
too, and what
offensive
happened?
receiving.
Well, I'm not saying that he's an everyday player here. I
No.
just mean that I think you're going to have more options with Murray to be able to play him.
Well, yeah,
week
you
to
will
week
because
than
of the
Haskins.
run factor.
Right. That's it. That's
I
it.
get
yeah.
that.
I
but
think Haskins as a quarterback in general is going to be the long-term better play in the NFL.
Correct.
Not fantasy
But-
purposes though.
Yeah, I mean it's just what you prefer. But
Exactly.
Daniel Jones, Drew Lock are both off my list because
Oh, yeah.
Eli Manning is they've already said he's the quarterback for the next 2 years.
Yep.
Maybe
And
3,
Drew Lock,
whatever.
you got Joe Flacco sitting there too, who's John Elway says is the starter. So
I think Locke might get time at the end of the season, but if they're
or if they
tanking
start
him-
off slow, yeah.
Right. But, yep.
No. So the things that I have for Daniel Jones likely sits, like you said, at least 2 to 3 seasons potentially behind Eli Manning. There's no true wide receiver 1, but he does have Shepard, Tate, Ingram. I just think that he's going to be a late season play, if anything, and that just depends on Eli's health as well as how long they're really going to ride Eli through this season.
I think they're going to ride him all season.
I do too. Well, and Jones'
That's great
comp
for
is
me.
Eli. So
Yeah,
for
that's
fantasy
what I'm saying.
purposes,
He-
is that what you
yeah,
want?
he's a
for your
clone.
quarterback. I mean,
That's what Dave Gettleman wanted.
yeah, I know. He said there's more teams that how many teams wanted him?
He said there
Supposedly
was 2
10.
teams.
10 initially, and then he changed it to 2
There was
later.
2 that they said
Yeah.
that they weren't going to be there when they picked again at 17. Washington was supposedly one of those.
Sure.
And Denver was the other one.
Right.
So it was
Well.
like, anyways, then Drew Lock, obviously he's the quarterback for the future, but we're talking about rookie relevance and redraft this year. I don't think unless something happens with Flacco or
Not this season.
Yeah.
I just think that he's going to be one of those late season plays potentially at the end of the year. That's about it. Now, granted, he does have a nice group of wide receivers. That's bodes well for Drew Lock over a Daniel Jones. I think his wide receiver crew is better for what they want to do in that offense. But
So in a
Right.
dynasty league, are you picking Jones or Locke? If that's
in a dynasty
head-to-head,
league,
yeah.
Jones.
If you had to pick,
probably Jones because he's got this guy named Saquon Barkley in that offense,
Right.
and I think he's the X factor
There's-
over Drew
There's better
Lock.
playmakers in New York than Denver, to me.
Right.
You got Emmanuel Sanders, who's coming off a major injury.
Sutton, you've got. I mean, they've got enough offense. I just don't know what they want to do in this offense. I just think overall, and I think the Giants have a
Ingram and Barkley is enough.
for the future, and they could go get another one of these top wide receivers in 2020.
I'm not arguing with you guys. I'm just
so-
curious because I kind of feel the same way.
So I just have Daniel Jones unlikely to be relevant unless Eli is benched or hurt, and Drew Lock could be streamable if he becomes a starter. But
Right.
that's about it.
Right.
And then running backs, we have David Montgomery first. So David Montgomery going to the Bears. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry, Mike Davis.
Yeah. Just whatever I said last show, just totally discarded.
Yeah.
Davis is done.
I don't know yet.
Not yet. Not sure.
See, we're going to disagree. I'm on the bandwagon here that I think Montgomery got drafted to be what they wanted Howard to be, the third 3-down back who can catch. And I think that's how they're going to try this offense. I think Cohen's going to be heavily involved in the beginning. I think they're going to taper him off.
Well, they said that he's going to go down in rushing attempts this year.
Right.
He's going to be strategically in the passing game.
Right. So I think I think David Montgomery slides into what they thought initially Mike Davis was going to do. I think Mike Davis kind of plays the complementary role to Montgomery
Or goal line.
or line, but I think it's going to be, as they said, the Thunder and Lightning is going to be Cohen and Montgomery because they're two young guys. Cohen could be potentially on the field, like we've said, at the same time as Montgomery. I just think that it's going to end up being Montgomery and Davis battling, and that's going to be the battle for the summer and seeing how that kind of plays out.
And
overall.
don't get me wrong, Cohen's still going to have his own value.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's
Especially
never
in
going away.
Especially in PPR formats.
Right.
So, but for me, I think that David Montgomery in redraft leagues has a low RB2, high RB3 upside if he beats out Davis. Now, if he doesn't beat out Davis and there's some sort of split backfield between them two and Cohen has his etched out, Cohen has his spot. He's not competing with any of these guys for his spot. He knows what he's doing. They know what they want to do with him. It comes down to Montgomery and Davis. And to me, if Montgomery, whoever it is, Montgomery or Davis, if either one comes out as a clear-cut guy, they have that low-end RB2, high-end RB3, so right around 24 to like 27 range, for me at least.
No, I think Montgomery's going to start off that split with Davis, and then he'll eventually take it over. So you might not get your early return.
I'm not even
that.
looking at him.
I would say in redrafts for me at the moment until we
Tell
see
it
a
to him
clear
straight.
cut.
I'm just saying, I'm not.
No, you're
No,
good.
I agree.
I'd rather have Cohen.
Right. Well, at this moment,
Well, yeah.
I would much rather have Cohen. If I can't get Cohen, I might take a late dart throw on Montgomery in redraft because I'm thinking he's probably in like that 9 to 10 range
Right,
at the
and
moment.
you're drafting him just for the potential.
Right.
The next guy is my Rookie of the Year fantasy,
Which one's that?
Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think he was already in a very good spot by being drafted as high as he was in the first round. And we all know that first round running backs tend to get a ton of volume in the offense that they're being drafted to. Mayock, Gruden loved this guy. That's why they grabbed him when they did. I
It's
think
his style.
Right. I think if they had initially said that they were thinking about potentially taking him as high as the top 5 potentially but they realized that Farrell wasn't going to make it back to them at the Josh Jacobs pick, and they couldn't get anybody to bite to trade out of that spot. So
Well, Mike Mayock said on the draft they think Josh Jacobs is a 3-down back,
oh yeah.
and they're gonna use him.
And I don't know if you guys listened to earlier the show when we talked about the news. They did just lose to me a 3-down back essentially with Isaiah Crowell.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you got Doug Martin and Jacobs and Jalen
Richards,
Richard, whatever.
Right. Jalen
Richard.
Yeah,
dang,
Richard.
Why did I say Richard? Man.
Richard.
Anyway, he's the pass catching guy if they need a true like passing option running back. But to me, Josh Jacobs can be the every down
He's
back.
everything. Yeah, he's my clear cut to be the Rookie of the Year this year, or Rookie of the Year and fantasy Rookie. Of the
Right.
Year.
I just hope because Alabama didn't use him a ton
I know.
that he
He's
doesn't wear down.
He's got some more tread on the tires a little bit more than some of the guys in the past that come
right.
out.
But again, like we said off there, Alabama is known to do this. Not run one guy into the ground. They run a bunch of guys.
Look at Mark Ingram. He's
right.
still going
So
strong.
I mean,
I agree with you. So to me, I looked at it stat wise. Marshawn Lynch being retiring gave around 17.5 touches a game. That's a pretty good amount because I think Doug Martin was somewhere in like I think 11 to 12. So even if they don't bring Doug Martin back into that full time, you're looking at 17.5 probably in another. I'm thinking you're looking at 20 touches
at least
a game for Josh Jacobs is what I'm banking on minimum.
That's 3 catches and
right. I think that he is in a great landing spot, and at the moment we put a poll out. The other day, I think it was yesterday, we put a poll out, and it seems that most people are wanting to draft him somewhere in that 2nd to 3rd round. 3rd round's first place right now.
for redrafts.
For redraft.
For
league.
Dynasties, he should be your number 1.
Him and Harry are up there in that 101 spot, 102. So
Just wait till he takes the goal lines. He's going to be a crazy year then if he takes all goal line carries.
Right.
So I'm
There's
just
no Lynch. I mean,
no.
Right. Well, and Crowell being out is a big deal.
Right. Now, they got Chris Warren and stuff like that, but I think that the fact that they took such high draft capital in Jacobs tells you that they want
he's
him
a
to be the
first-round
guy.
running back that Mike Mayoc's really high on.
Right. So
He's getting all the carries.
So I have him as very relevant this year. Like I agree with you. I think he's going to be the rookie that you want to have out of this draft potentially. So by the end of the year, he's the leading rookie fantasy-wise.
He's the safest pick out
Yeah.
of rookie running backs.
And then Darrell Henderson out of Memphis. He gets drafted to the LA Rams, which kind of, to me, spells maybe a little bit more trouble to Gurley.
Well, it's just a little insurance. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting a ton of play out of Henderson here, but I do think that Gurley is hurt, and he's gonna spell him a lot.
Right. So, I mean, biggest thing for me is if Gurley's knee is worse than what it's being advertised, and it seems that they're trying to play it off. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. But every
it's
time,
because they got time right now.
right. I just think that once the season gets here and once camp starts and everything with the veterans and the rookies, I think that's going to be the telltale is to see how well Gurley is handling. And it might be. I mean, it sounds like it from all these different doctors I've seen make comments about Gurley's knee. It may just be a game by game situation where it's. Sorry, this week his knee's inflamed. He's not playing, or he's going to be limited on touches.
They should have kept C.J. Anderson.
I think that they want. We talked about this in previous shows. I think they probably wanted to bring C.J. Anderson back in, but I think C.J. Anderson got his head got too big for himself in year one, which is fine.
Look at the production
Well,
he gave them last year.
He's got to take it.
Right. Well, and
Right,
he's not going to
exactly.
he's not going to take a lesser dollar amount to come back to the Rams when Detroit's giving him the amount of money that he
which
was
is
offered.
a predominantly run team anyway now.
Right. So that's the biggest thing. But for me, Darrell Henderson's relevance is solely based on whether or not Gurley's carries are limited or not. So now this is the one that I kind of like outside. I like Josh Jacobs, but Miles Sanders coming out of Penn State to the Philadelphia Eagles is a big thing, I think, for me.
That's too many running backs in that backfield.
I think it becomes him and Howard, and that's it. I think the
Yeah,
other
they
guys
got
kind of.
Smallwood. I mean,
I agree. They're on the roster. I just think that Miles Sanders and Howard are going to kind of be that 1-2 punch that you're going to see with either Montgomery and Cohen set up. I think that's what you're going to see. I think Howard's going to be that staple back that they're going to try to do more of like the first and second downs, and I think Miles Sanders is going to be that third down back and that passing down back. And I think that's because, I mean, they essentially called him not to the level of Saquon, but that's the only reason why he sat was because Saquon.
well, I know,
obviously.
but I was just surprised that they had just traded for Jordan Howard, and then all of a sudden they draft a high-profile running back.
I think this is not so much on against Jordan Howard. I think this is against the other running backs that they did not they tried to work out last year, and nobody took the lead. Nobody really could.
It was
settle.
like a committee. Josh Adams. I mean,
right.
I think Sanders has got a chance to push Howard here, and if Howard doesn't show up, this could be Sanders' show.
I think I think they're going to try to do a 1-2 punch with these guys.
I'll have to wait and see because there's like 5 starting caliber running backs.
Right. I mean, we'll see how camp goes. Howard's still right now the guy.
Oh, yeah.
If he doesn't show
well,
up,
but at least by name.
Right.
True.
So
Well put.
But by the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if Miles Sanders isn't the leading rusher in this Philadelphia offense because I just think he's got that Saquon-type offensive talent that it's going to be hard to keep him off the field, especially if we see what we saw out of Jordan Howard towards the end of last year where he just struggled at times. Jordan Howard picked up when it got cold.
Yeah.
But the offense that Chicago ran didn't fit Jordan Howard's run.
And I think this offense is going to.
Right.
So I honestly think if everything goes according to plan, I think it's going to be a 1-2 punch between Sanders and Howard, with Howard being the main ball carrier.
I'm weary on that one right now.
And then let's see, is that the end of the running backs? I think that was the last running back.
Yes,
we had.
it is.
All right, wide receivers. Now this is where it got interesting because I expected a lot more wide receivers to come off the board earlier than it did, and they really didn't.
No, it was a defensive loaded draft.
Right.
Right. So Marquise Brown and N'Keal Harry were the only two wide receivers taken in that first round anyways.
Hollywood.
And I feel bad for Hollywood
I
Brown.
do too,
Yeah.
because that's a run team.
Yeah.
And you're a receiver. Good luck.
Right.
And redraft, I don't think he's going to have
No.
any value.
No.
Which sucks for him, but I mean, he goes into a bad situation for a wide receiver, like you said. It's a run-first offense with a running-first quarterback
and
who
they just brought in Mark Ingram.
right.
Yeah.
And I think that Lamar Jackson, I mean, most of his throws were to the tight end and short yardage, and Brown, his go-to is the deep ball.
Over the top.
So, and if
Yep.
you're not, I mean, I kind of thought of like the concept of John Brown from last year, where once Joe Flacco went out and Lamar Miller came, or not Lamar Miller, Lamar Jackson.
Miller's everywhere. He's in Houston
He
and
is.
Baltimore.
Jeez. When Lamar Jackson came in, I think that's when you kind of start to see John Brown kind of disappear in that offense. And it wasn't because he wasn't good or wasn't getting separation or whatever. It's just Lamar Jackson. It's tuck it and go
We said
or
that's
5
his
yards.
style. Yeah. It's either dump all flow or run.
I mean, there is like 19 some targets a game vacated with John Brown leaving, but
That'll be 19 more rushes.
Well, I
for
mean,
Lamar
Brown, I
Jackson.
think Brown's probably he's an upgrade over John Brown or Marquise Brown. Here.
Yeah.
But definitely. But still, I don't get the fit in this offense. I don't-
Hollywood.
especially for the draft capital.
yeah.
Well, they wanted an over-the-top guy just to give him that dimension. You have to respect it.
Well, true.
I mean,
And they didn't have that.
But until he throws it,
I get it.
that's where I mean.
I get it.
I think it's more so like you said. I think with Brown not coming back, they had to have somebody to make the defense feel like there's a defensive,
Yeah, you
like
have to
there's over
respect
the
it.
top
If not, they
threat.
can just load the box up
Well,
and
listen,
call it a
people
day.
think Bigfoot is there, but until I see it, I don't believe it, man.
There is a picture out there.
Yeah, you ever watch this documentary? It's a biography. It's called
Yeah,
Harry and the
yeah.
Hendersons.
Or
Yeah.
messing with Sasquatch.
Love that show, by the way.
So, anyways, but I think Marquise Brown for me is just a wait and see, just because the offense has got a lot of question marks from the passing game.
Not
so,
a fan of that at all.
No,
Yeah, me
I feel
either.
bad
I
for
was
that
kind
guy.
of disappointed when they called his name.
I mean, he could have went to any other team and been relevant this year.
Right.
Any other team, but anyways,
I wanted him- if he would have gone to Miami though with Fitz, all day,
yeah,
just chucked it down to him.
Yeah, and then they got Rosen. I mean, that would have been awesome.
I would love that.
I like that. But anyways, so he's not, and he might go to fantasy wide receiver. What is it? I don't want to say. I'm trying to think. Like where does it go? Like isn't that the phrase that's where the wide
Yeah.
receiver would go to die or whatever for the Baltimore offense because they just don't throw the ball.
Purgatory.
Yeah, that.
Gosh, it was like
Well,
on
yeah,
the tip
because
of my
Michael
tongue.
Crabtree was doing really well in Oakland.
Yeah.
And he goes over to
Does okay
Baltimore,
with
and he's like,
Flacco,
"Oh,
and it was like
no.
sorry. Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. Did you hear that? That was exactly the sound. N'Keal Harry is the next one we're going to talk about. Finished. He was the last pick of the NFL first round draft
I like it.
to the
a
New
lot.
England
Yeah.
Patriots. Love it. This
Well,
is
dude.
my 101 in Dynasty. This is my first
No.
wide receiver.
Jacobs.
See, I think it could go either way depending on what your team needs.
Yeah, but you still got a bunch of weapons there in New England.
Well, I don't know if your point's the same as mine, but normally in Dynasty, I like the wide receiver because their career's longer. So you're going to get more play out of Harry than Jacobs could be like a 3-4 year deal where Harry could play a lot longer.
True.
And well, but here's the catch though with Harry is you want him with
Tom Brady.
and yes,
And Tom Brady's not going to be around for 4
right.
years.
So
That's why I said
you're
it.
going to get the goat with the coach. Then I'm all in Harry. But if you ain't going to get that for 4 or 5 years, then maybe I'm not.
I'm not gonna lie. I seriously thought he was gonna rhyme and say, "Do you want the goat that's gonna get the coat, or did you want the?" But I did not think coach. But I like that too.
Harry's not
I
getting
can't
the coat.
rhyme,
No.
man. Can't rhyme.
No,
Get
that's
some
okay.
Harry's razors and the goat.
Harry's razors.
Jeez. Anyway, so obviously with Rob Gronkowski being retired, which he was on the Billboard Awards apparently last night as a security guard. Somebody said.
Listen, that
Apparently
guy's
he's already
living
transitioned
life.
into. He is.
I just want to go on the Gronk cruise with him.
Right. Chris Hogan not back as well. So there's around 15 targets that have been vacated a game. I think N'Keal Harry can get that as well as the red zone opportunity is
Well,
going
plus,
to
we
be
still don't know what's going on with Josh Gordon.
Right.
true. I mean, they did sign him because they want him as their guy if he comes back. But, I mean, there's a lot of question marks. I mean, Edelman's pretty much the only true wide receiver coming back. And then you've got James White, Sonny Michel. And they did draft Damian Williams, the other part of the Alabama running back group.
Yeah.
So,
But Josh Gordon, one more mess up by him, and that's lifetime ban.
Yeah.
He's gone.
but for N'Keal Harry, I think he is got plenty of opportunity in this Patriots offense, and I think fantasy relevance is perfect for him.
When
this
they
year.
announced the pick, I just face palmed. I was like, the rich every year they get a good player.
It's the guy they love, the big-bodied wide receiver.
Right.
Well, and the thing is, somebody had pointed out, I think it was on NFL Network, had made the point that since Belichick had been the coach, they had never drafted a wide receiver in the first round.
No,
Never.
they haven't.
But
They got Randy Moss in a trade for a fourth-round
right.
pick.
right. But I mean, they had Brandon Cooks at one point, which he did little to
Free
nothing in
agent,
offense.
yeah.
So to me, N'Keal Harry is the winner of this first round. Outside of him and Josh Jacobs are the winners.
Those better be your first 2 picks in Dynasty.
Yeah. So now DK Metcalf coming in the second round.
I like that. Now that Baldwin's going to be
I
out.
would say the question mark with Baldwin not coming back, if that's true, then it's him and Lockett.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, they brought in some other guys. I mean, they've got some other complimentary wide receivers. But, I mean, it is DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know it's a run-first offense, and I wasn't huge high on Metcalf, but I think the offense he actually went to is perfect because they found a way to use Jimmy Graham with a big guy like this. You get Metcalf around the goal line.
Well, and
This is going to be – he could have a lot of touchdowns.
And
here.
the knock on him was his route running tree
Right.
wasn't the greatest. That's the only route he really has to go. Russell Wilson will find him.
Right. I say Russell Wilson, he's kind of like the Tom Brady. He just tells you, hey, just run out there, get open, get separation, and I will put it into the box,
And
into
he's-
the hole that you need me to put it where it at.
He's big enough and fast enough to get that separation.
I just don't see a heavy volume here.
No.
So for PPR, that's what's a little scary for Metcalf. But
He's
if he
got
has
the
a
TD.
touchdown upside here.
He's the TD upside guy, and I think this helps Tyler Lockett.
Like
Oh,
you
absolutely.
Said, like you said, especially in the red zone. But, yeah, that's going to free Lockett up a lot.
Because I think DK Metcalf, I hate to say it, they might slot him in as the one, and now this gives the Lockett the opportunity to be in that slot spot, which is where he's just going to thrive in a PPR setting.
Yeah, it's where Russell Wilson loves to go there anyway. So
Right.
I love Lockett this year.
I
But
do-
I
I do
think
too.
Metcalf actually landed in a really good spot.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, he did go to a good quarterback, like we said, fantasy purposes. I mean, Russell Wilson is always fantasy
Hey,
relevant.
and he can buy
Always.
him. And he can buy him a shirt.
There you go.
Hey, man, the coach.
Can chicken.
I just want to say down on the farm, but that's Bob Evans. Anyways, so where do you guys have? Let me DK Metcalf. Where do you have him finishing? Like top 25? Do you have him finishing in that 26 to like 30 range?
I think he's outside the top 25 for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you think he has top 25 potential though
yes.
with the touchdowns? Because that's where he's going to be. It's do or die for him.
Low end top 25.
Right. I was gonna say.
It's just
Like his ceiling's probably like 18, 19.
I was gonna say
I
was
want to
where
see how run heavy they are.
Yeah, I just thought for me, I just thought it was top. His top end is like 19, 20 for me, but I'm banking somewhere in that 25 to 27 range comfortably, just because the
But we'll see,
touchdown.
I
though.
could get on board with that though.
We'll see, though.
Right.
We'll see how it pans out.
All right, now next one, Paris Campbell.
Love it.
Obviously, he's going
Oh,
to have
yeah.
to find
I
a
love
way
it
to
too.
get on the field from a rookie standpoint. I think he will be in 3 wide receiver sets, obviously, but it's going to come down to between him and Funchess basically battling it out for receptions. Because I think that you've got T.Y. Hilton's going to get his.
Well, Hilton and Funchess will be on the outside. And you got Paris Hilton rolling around in the slot. I mean, that's dangerous. Then you got Ebron and Doyle,
Yeah.
Hines and Mack. I mean, Andrew Luck can close his eyes and throw the ball. Somebody's catching it.
Well, and
for
that
the
might
offense.
be the only reason why
Right.
his value goes down is because there's so many mouths out there.
Yeah, but
I think
I love
he's
a
going
guy
to
with-
catch and go type.
yeah, a guy with that speed, I think they're going to try to use him like a Tyreek Hill. They'll do the reverses. They'll do
The screens.
all the gadget plays. He'll have his own role in the
What I
show.
was going to say is I like him way better than Funches now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Funches just
absolutely.
almost pushes him aside.
Well, and what stinks about Funchess is we talked about him being the big red zone guy, but they got Ebron too.
Right.
So
Well,
now
this
you
was
got two.
before, now
And they
I
got
know, but
Doyle.
now you
Yeah.
got two of the same guy almost, and Campbell's going to be on the field. Speed kills.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to – I mean, I had the notes that he's going to have to find a way to get on the field, but I think that if how this offense has been playing the last couple of years, I think that they're going to find a way to get him on the field. They're going to do the gadget plays. They're going to use him wherever they can. And even if he is in the slot spot, I mean, he's kind of like Tyler Lockett. It's just all he has to get is a step or two ahead of the defender, and it's gone. I mean, you just toss it, and he's catching his stride, and he's
Just
gone.
think about the defense, though.
Yeah.
You can't double team anybody in that.
I think
double
Hilton's
stamp or
going to
triple
blow
stamp.
up because
I think
of
so.
this.
I think so too.
He needed this.
Andrew Luck. I like what you said earlier with Mahomes maybe taking a
Enough
notch
of a
down.
hit.
Yeah.
Well, Indianapolis went after the O-line last year.
Right. They did the dirty work and
Yeah.
got the guys in the trenches last year to kind of set up
They
for
stole Ebron.
Right.
I mean, literally, they stole him.
Yeah, Detroit still got to please find him on the streets there.
No joke.
So, but I like Paris Campbell this year. Now, I think he's probably looking at like a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 for fantasy purposes, just because it's so many mouths to feed in that offense. But I think that he is a game-by-game situation that he could be. He kind of be like where Tyreek Hill was his rookie year, where it's a really
and
boom and bust.
T.Y. Hilton's he's getting older. He's been injury prone the last few seasons. So if he were to miss games, I mean, Paris Campbell can step right into that T.Y. Hilton run.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's kind of what I'm hoping that's what they kind of saw the writing on the wall. Because let's be honest, T.Y. Hilton is getting up there in the age for wide receivers. So this is a guy who could just slide right into that spot.
Right. I like it.
He's a good wide receiver.
That was a good pick. I like the fit for Paris Campbell.
Yeah. So, and then this one's the one that kind of is the wild card for me. Now, I only put him in just because of the current situation with Tyreek Hill, but it's Mecole Hardman out of Georgia.
If he pans out, that could be a steal.
Yes.
That's what I mean, I've just been sitting here. I mean, the last couple of days when we talked about what show we were going to do, I mean, it was like, okay, so what's a guy like a dark horse, a sleeper guy that somebody could get in a redraft and like either get him as like a waiver wire right after the draft or like a round 15 pick. And I think Mecole Hardman. Now, obviously, unfortunately, I think his ADP is going to rise very quickly. By the time redraft
he's not
going to
go undrafted.
Yeah, he's a burner. Like, he can run.
Right. Well, that was the thing. They moved the draft capital, like we talked about, second round to go get this guy, and he's kind of like a Tyreek Hill. He's not Tyreek Hill. He's in his own little bubble, but he is pretty close to it, and that's exactly what he did in Georgia. It was a lot of gadget plays, a lot of like screens, a lot of like go routes. So
Man,
I just think
him and Hill on the field at the same time would have been nasty though.
right.
I just don't think we're ever going to see it.
But, I mean, if Hill is gone, I think he assumes the wide receiver 2, obviously, and Sammy Watkins becomes the 1, which I think helps Hardman even more so because he's not going to see that number 1 coverage. And I think this helps Kelsey because now Kelsey doesn't have to be the main focal point.
I still look for the Chiefs to pick up another wide receiver via cuts or somebody like that to add to the roster before opening.
Depth-wise.
Veteran, I think so too.
But I like Mecole Hardman, and I think that his relevance is solely on Hill's availability this year.
Because he's not a big name, you could probably get him a little bit later in your drafts, and the payoff could be huge.
I would say, unless like your fantasy football league mates are like diehard guys that are like inside these fantasy drafts and everything else, like inside and out, like we are. Most league guys are going to be like, when you draft him, if you go to your league and you draft him in the 9th or 10th round or 11th round, whatever, once we know Hill's done, they're going to be like, who's Mecole Hardman? And they're going to pull their phone and be like, get out of Georgia.
Well,
whatever, okay. And then like by week 4, you're like, can I get Mecole Hardman, please?
Well, that's why you got to
trade?
sell Sammy Watkins at your draft.
Right.
Oh, Hill's out. You got to get that Watkins. Got to get that
Watkins
Watkins.
is number 1. He's getting all the targets, and then in week 1 he gets
Yeah.
hurt, tying his shoe.
Right.
You know, like, why are you drafting Hardman?
Tying his shoe.
Yeah.
He did have a teammate step on his foot, and he was out for like 5 weeks. So
That's
that is
what
a
I'm saying.
possibility.
I mean, come on.
Now, here's the position that was so like depth-wise heavy for this year, which in years past, let's be honest, most of the tight end class is like one guy, if that. Like,
Right.
That's about it. This one, you had Hawkinson, you had Noah Fant, you had Irv Smith, and there was a couple other lower-tier guys that were in there that, I mean, that could potentially pan out over in a dynasty setup. But for redraft purposes, the top 3 guys that you're probably looking at is Hawkinson, Fant, and Irv Smith Jr., which we've got here. T.J. Hawkinson going to Detroit. Do you think that's a good spot for him, or do you think that's a maybe not good this year?
I think
it's a wait and see.
I think right now the hype is huge for this guy because they're like, oh man, they got the best tight end, but he's also the best blocking tight end. And Matt Patricia likes to run the ball, so I think this was more geared toward the running game. He can catch, but I don't think he's going to have I don't think he's going to end up with number 1 tight end numbers.
I think he's kind of going to be, in Matt Patricia's eyes, I think he's going to be a poor man's version of what they did with Gronk in New England.
Yes.
Gronk could stay on the field every play because he could block. He just ended up turning into a prolific pass catcher,
And let's
which
face it,
Hawkinson could do.
Detroit don't have Tom Brady.
This is true. They
But
have
if
Matt
they can
Stafford.
run the ball now, he's a little bit of a threat in the passing game.
True.
Think of what
Play
that opens up
action-wise.
on the outside with Galladay and Jones.
I get that.
I really like
but
that.
I'm saying for
yeah.
Hawkinson himself,
Right.
I think everybody's, they got the number 1 tight end. He's a blocking tight end, but he can play. But I don't think he's going to end up the number 1 tight end.
For redraft purposes, you're right. I'm not going to buy into him that much.
No.
I just like what it does for the rest of the offense.
Yes.
I think that's
the
what the
run
bigger
game.
picture. It helps in the run game with Kerryon Johnson and these guys as C.J. Anderson, but also I think it helps with the blocking purposes for Matt Stafford to get the ball down the field a little bit to a Marvin Jones or to a Galladay.
Yeah, when this pick came through, I thought Galladay's stock went up just a little bit more.
Yes,
Yep.
I agree with you. I think we were all on the same page with that. It was just like, wow, okay, sucks for Hawkinson's, but for fantasy purposes for Galladay or any of the other guys in the offense, I think it boasts their options. So
Because their offensive line's been trashed for a few years.
I will say, though, if he beats out Jesse James, what I'm hoping and expecting he will because he is such a good blocking tight end, I think he could be. He obviously will be the tight end 1 in Detroit, but I think that he is on that like maybe 13 to 15 for tight end purposes this year.
I think they're going to use both of them, but I think you'll see Jesse James be the receiving tight end, and Hawkinson's going to be your blocker.
Maybe like a 1-2 punch like they had in New England years ago with like
Yep.
Gronk
Exactly,
and
because
Hernandez.
Patricia was there during that time frame.
True.
It's exactly what it looks
And
like.
back then, Gronk was the blocker, and
Hernandez was the
Hernandez.
one scoring the
Ironically,
touchdowns.
it looks a lot like what the Colts are doing with Ebron and Doyle, isn't it?
True story. It's a copycat league. We've seen it.
What works?
Exactly.
I mean, everybody wanted to be the Rams this past year because the Rams the year before were doing everything they could and moving guys around.
If you said hi to Sean McVay in your lifetime, you got hired somewhere this year.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
I should have
Right
said
here
hi.
in Cincinnati.
I should have said hi, but
Oh, you were the quarterback's coach? Oh, you had tea with Sean McVay? You're hired. Just come on.
you served him his coffee at Starbucks the other day. You're hired as the defensive coordinator.
Starbucks barista is the offensive coordinator.
Jeez, that's a good one. Now the next tight end, Noah Fant. I think he is the winner out of these three for this year specifically, for me at least.
Okay.
Obviously that was a no from the
I'm
other.
actually in agreement with you.
I was gonna say the only reason why is because he's not really got a ton of competition. He's got Hireman, and that's about it.
He's got no competition.
No competition.
Flacco,
No offense to Howerman, but
Flacco loves to target the tight end in the
Yes.
offense, and that's why I think that he's going to be fantasy relevant out the gate.
And just think this way: if Flacco goes down and Locke is in, what's a rookie quarterback's favorite target? The tight end. So
Typically,
I think
unless you
Fant's
name Lamar Jackson.
Right.
safety blanket.
Just volume purposes is the only reason why I like him more.
Here's why I like Noah Fant, and I agree with Joe Flacco when he was in Baltimore. He made Dennis Pitta look like a Pro Bowl guy, which we know he wasn't.
True.
But and then now Irv Smith was drafted by Minnesota.
Right.
Crazy, right?
Right.
Surprise, surprise. The day after, or the third day of the draft, guess whose name showed up on the trade block?
Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph. So he's not even.
Nose so bright.
Yeah, Kyle Rudolph's not even going to be there.
He ain't going to lead that slate tonight.
If Rudolph gets traded or cut,
right?
Because he's coming up off his rookie deal too, so they're going to have to pay him big money.
What'd you say? He's not even.
His cap cut's like little to nothing. I think it's like $0 or like maybe $20,000.
But I'm pretty sure it's either this year or next year. He's off his rookie deal because he was a first-round pick.
Correct.
And now you got Irv Smith for next to nothing, who's more athletic in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he's kind of the O.J. Howard.
Right. So maybe he'd be more of a receiving weapon than what Rudolph is.
Correct. And I agree with you. I think overall, talent-wise, I think in their offense specifically, I think opportunity, if there's no Kyle Rudolph, I think Irv Smith Jr. could be the better of the two. My only thing is, at the current moment where we're looking at if Kyle Rudolph does stay, even if Kyle Rudolph does leave, my only question with Irv Smith is what offense we're going to be seeing, because they did favor the tight end a lot more now towards the end of the season once they switched OCs. My only problem is you just paid a ton of money the year before to Diggs. You paid a ton of money to Thielen. You now have offensive line. You went and got some offensive linemen. So you're trying to keep Kirk Cousins upright. That's what you're trying to do. I think Irv Smith Jr. is going to be
worth $90 million.
He's going to be touchdown dependent. That's where I think his.
I don't know.
Most tight ends end up like that, though. There's only a handful that.
Noah Fant's not a tight end that's going to block, so he's a move tight end. He's the guy that's going to be catching. He's going to be more of the receiving guy.
But even like an Ebron, he is completely.
Well, he's touchdown dependent, but he's not as athletic as some of those other tight ends. I comp Irv Smith to the guy in Tampa Bay.
So
O.J. Howard.
Yeah.
That's what type he's going to be. You got Mike Evans and Godwin on the outside, and you got
O.J. Howard rolling in and out of the.
And I think the same thing in Minnesota. You're going to have Cook coming out of the backfield. You're going to have Thielen, Diggs, and you got Irv Smith trolling the middle.
I could buy into him if he's going to be used like Howard's used in Tampa Bay's offense.
Well, that's his bread and butter. He's not known for his blocking.
This is true. So I just think that to boast Irv Smith's availability for this year for redraft purposes, Kyle Rudolph has got to be either off the team or hurt.
Well, I think Kyle Rudolph's gone. I mean,
I think it is.
As soon as day 3 hit, it was Xavier Rhodes, which is weird, Trey Waynes, and Kyle Rudolph. All three of their names came up on the trade block.
Well, even before before the draft, even they were talking about that Kyle Rudolph was like a little to no cap hit, that he could be a cap casualty, he could be a camp cut, things of that, and it just kind of got bigger. And
we watched it. I mean, it's a money league.
Right.
They drafted a rookie tight end, first round pick, so it's 5 years you're going to get him.
Right.
And now Kyle Rudolph's coming up on his big payday. Minnesota don't have the money to pay him.
They got to save money somewhere.
Right.
So might as well just ship him out now while you got the chance, while the iron's hot, as they say, and people might be interested in him.
They don't have the luxury of paying the rookie quarterback.
Hey, Kyle
right
Rudolph's
now.
a good player. He's a 6'6". I mean, he's pretty good.
Right.
So
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I think the iron is hot right now. So if it is, you got to go and move him. If somebody is interested
if
in
they
him,
can't
be
trade
done.
for him, they'll cut him. And yeah, it's a low cap hit.
That's the
Well,
problem.
The thing is, I think teams are going to wait for him to get cut.
Sure.
They don't have to give him
Well,
anything up.
they know
besides-
Minnesota is one of the most strapped teams in the NFL for cash.
Yeah, just a little bit.
When you guarantee your quarterback
Is he gonna-
$90 million,
Is he going to end up in New England?
could you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
Just had to put that out there.
I mean, it's a good possibility.
Bye,
Just
everybody. So,
Tom Brady's like, I'm playing till I'm 55.
right.
Just
So
put me in this bubble
so as we talked about, some of these guys, yeah,
like a hamster ball.
Right.
You know, come on.
Bubble boy.
Bubble Boy. So like we said, we talked about some different rookies. Obviously, there are more rookies, and they're more geared toward the dynasty setup. There could be some relevant guys that we didn't want to like list every quarterback, every running back,
No,
every
we
wide
went through the
receiver.
main guys.
Right, the guys that we think have a better chance at this moment. There's always going to be a guy like an Alvin Kamara out there that you see the talent. It's just he's buried on the depth chart. And there were some other running backs, some wide receivers that we could mention. We just chose not to because at the moment we're going to wait and see what we see coming out of camp.
Right.
And then obviously we could come back and circle back and
Right.
raise them in our rankings and whatnot.
It's easy. Follow the money, where teams spend their money, and where their draft capital's at. Those guys are going to play.
Yep.
Right.
Go Terry McLaurin.
He has the possibility to be the wide receiver one in that offense.
Yeah, because Redskins did not pick up the fifth-year option on Josh Dotson.
Yep.
No. So,
See? Follow the money.
right. All right. So that's all we got for today's show. Thanks for tuning in, whether it's on the podcast side or on YouTube or even on DATV. We appreciate you guys tuning in if this is the first time. If you're a returning guest, welcome back. So
And we appreciate that.
appreciate that. You can follow the show on like the website. It's thehateful8ff.com. There's articles. There's apparel. So, I mean, we just had somebody buy one last night randomly out of left field, a shirt randomly. Guy bought it. So that'll be out to him next week.
Yeah.
And as well as the draft loadout, 2019 draft loadout. Go to averagejoenation.com. You can sign up there. It's $8 right now between now and May 31st. And like we talked about earlier, the promo Trophy Smack is giving you a 50% off promo code.
50% off one of these bad boys.
Right. Looks nice on your desk.
Yeah.
And then as well, then you'll be entered
Hand on
into
your hand.
as well.
Or
As
finger. Whatever.
I know what you meant. I wasn't going to make you feel awkward. Anyways, so as
Feel
well as you're going
awkward.
to be entered into a drawing for a free championship ring. So for $8, you potentially get a free ring, and then you pile that with another $15 for a championship ring. So you could walk out with 2 rings and a draft loadout to help you win maybe a 3rd ring at your draft and get yourself taken care of. So
Basically, if you don't do it, you've already lost at
right,
your draft.
this is
Right.
true. So
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. And then, as we mentioned last week, Draft Party USA, August 24th at Scene 75 here in Dayton, Ohio. Sign up. You can go to draftpartyusa.com, and then you can go to events, hit the Dayton, Ohio event, and you sign up, reserve your guys' leagues. We're looking forward to seeing everybody there. It's a couple months away still, but we're looking forward to hanging out with people. Blackburn's ready to take pictures with you and
Yep.
potentially eat your food, I guess, is what he said last week. So.
Yeah, I will.
They only get 2
Wait,
pizzas, so.
Listen, I'm in on the pizza.
All right. So Blackbird's taking pictures and eating pizza. You're just going to be that guy that just sits down and eats pizza.
I'm going to be that weird guy.
Right. They're going to be like, who's this guy? Anyways, so
Oh,
that's
that's just Frank. He's cool.
it's okay. He's just Frank. So, anyways, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at jpickleTH8FF. You can follow Blackburn at jblackburnTH8FF. And you can follow
Do
Trimboli
it.
at ftrimTH8FF.
forget.
The podcast handle is at the Hateful 8FF as well. Anything else before we go?
Well, thanks, guys.
Nope.
We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yes,
we'll see-
appreciate it.
Yes, and we will see you guys next week.